There is a way to release it.
How do you release it of feelings, thoughts, and emotions that have been stored in your body for decades? How do we let those things go that have been so conditioned as a familiar habit?
Pattern
that has become who we are almost. We've
100%.
owned the identity.
100%.
How do we change decades of an identity and release?
Yeah. I have what I call now, there's models of psychotherapy that I've kind of integrated. And now in this new world, I'm like the 4 T's to trauma healing. Okay. So I have the 4 T's to trauma healing, and I'll explain them to you right now. First, and we talked about the first one, thank your trauma responses. Right?
The protective responses.
The protective responses, the drinking, the eating, the yelling at your kids, the suicidality, the depression,
thank it.
The anxiety. Thank you. Like, think about suicide for a minute. Suicidal part doesn't want to die. They want to stop the pain.
Yes. They want to get rid of the pain.
I'm the last responder, they say. If it gets bad enough, I can protect us by stopping the pain.
Wow.
Okay? So thank your protective responses, thank your trauma responses, thank you for trying to help. Okay?
Would those be called symptoms or just responses?
Totally. If you're in the mental health field, you call them symptoms.
Got it.
If you're in the coaching world or whatever, you'll call them responses, right? Everybody calls them, but it's the same thing.
Okay.
All the diagnoses are trauma responses, really.
So thank them, acknowledge them.
And thank them. And you know what they say?
How do we thank that?
Internally, this is like meditation.
If someone has a thought of like, I want to kill myself today. I'm a worthless piece of crap. No one loves me. Look at all these evidence of how I've been abused and neglected and taken advantage of my entire life.
Right.
No one will care if I die. What's the process? How do I thank that?
Tell me more. It's the curiosity. Tell me more. I know you're doing this for a reason, and I know it's helpful. I want to learn more. It's this active listening. When I say thank your trauma responses.
Internal active listening.
Yeah, and it can be like close your eyes and go inside, which people hate to do, by the way. Like everybody's on their phones, But you can write. You can sit with yourself for 5 minutes, right? It's go inside. And it's weird. People I'll do this with trauma survivors, people I work with, go inside. Okay, they pop out with it. I'm like, that was 2 seconds. Right. Let's do 4. And get people, if you just stop, there's so much about stopping and listening, which is scary for people.
Mm-hmm.
Stopping and listening, they're like, I just feel nauseous. I'm like, okay, let's be with the nausea. Because parts can show up in any physical sensation, and I'm just hearing you loser. All right, let's just be with you're a loser. Let's just get curious about it. And how long has it been doing this, and how is it trying to help? It says, Dad called me a loser. If I call myself a loser, then I can beat him to the punch. Oh, okay. Let it know you get that. So people start going, wow, that's what they do. They're like, wow, so this thing that I've hated is actually helping, trying to help.
It's trying to help. It's a false sense of helping, right?
Yeah, they did.
But it's doing the best it can do.
Yes, exactly. So that's the first piece. Thank your trauma responses and appreciate them. Second is trust that you have what you need inside to heal. You don't need to you don't need gurus. You don't need other people to tell you what's right for you. But we've learned to not listen to our gut. We've learned to not listen to our authentic self. So I want to bring people back to trusting that little voice inside that's like, not, I hate you, you're no good. Those are the protectors. I knew this relationship wasn't right. I knew there was something wrong here. It's like learning how to differentiate, listening to your gut, listening to your intuition, reclaiming that relationship with your wisdom, right? You can feel the difference. Like you're a jerk feels different energy than this isn't right.
But as a 6, 8, 10-year-old, how do you have wisdom that you can tap into?
They do. Those kids have wisdom. Raising my kids, like when my husband would lose it, for whatever reason. I'm not blaming him, because I certainly have lost it too. But when he loses it, they look at me like, that's crazy. Kids know normal behavior. They do. So they have that wisdom too. The IFS model believes we're born with it. We're born with that wisdom, and we learn not to listen because of life.
Gotcha.
Right?
Because of programming or rules or society or...
Shut up, shut down, disconnect. So we all have it. Let's reconnect with it. Okay. That's the second step. Trust that you have in you. Then there's this transform. This is where the healing comes in, Lewis. The transform what doesn't serve you and doesn't belong to you. There are 3 steps to this. This is where the real healing of trauma comes in. And a lot of this is rooted in the models of psychotherapy that I've trained in and neuroscience knowledge, okay? Memory reconsolidation is a type of neuroscience that rewires our neural networks.
What are those 3 steps?
You need to witness the experience or share the story. And it's not just the words. It's the part that holds the trauma needs to share what it's holding internally with me, or with my therapist, or with my partner, or with a friend.
You need to speak it out.
Yeah. And it's not just the story. It's the thoughts, the feelings, and the physical sensations. I was terrified. I thought I was going to die. It was
humiliating. I had shame. Yes. I had insecurity.
Sharing it is the first step, because the part holds it all by itself.
The body, you mean?
The part that holds the trauma. Once it shares it,
it releases.
Like, oh, I'm not the only one holding this, or I don't have to be the only one that holds it. So the first piece is share the whole experience, not relive it, be with it. It's a big difference, because we don't want people to relive their trauma.
Not to re-traumatize themselves.
No, that's right. It's not about re-traumatizing, it's sharing.
Say it again, not be with it?
It's be with it, not in it. Okay. So we don't want people to relive it. We want them to share the experience with someone, with a loved one, with a therapist. So, and then this happened, and then this happened, and it felt like this, and my body felt gross, or I was all tensed up. Anything else. So once the experience is shared, then
That's step 1.
That's step 1 of transform. Okay? Second is we want a corrective experience.
What does that look like?
Neuroscience knowledge tells us we want to disconfirm the trauma. So I'm loved. I'm seen. I'm acknowledged. I'm important. Whatever this trauma is, we want a corrective experience.
If someone watching or listening is thinking, that sounds great, Frank, but I can't find evidence that I'm loved. I can't find evidence that I'm worthy, that I'm,
but
thought of.
Here's this.
Considered.
So when the part says I'm no good, I'm unworthy, I'm not lovable, either the self says, I love you. Like I can see that little boy that was 6 years old. I'm like, I love him. So the corrective experience can happen internally. My adult now can say, you should have never gone through that. That was horrible.
But if you've never learned how to love yourself, how do you tap into that love?
That's the trust. We all have it. We all have it.
Got it.
Now, it also can come from somebody else. It can come from you to me. Frank, I've known you for 10 years. I love you. You are, and you're really talking to the wounded part.
Yes.
You're not talking to me.
Yeah.
You're talking to the wounded part. So it can be somebody, trauma heals in connection.
Yes.
Because trauma is a violation of a relationship.
Say that again.
Trauma is a violation of a relationship.
Is it a relationship with others or with self?
Both. Yeah. Both. We disconnect from ourselves to survive, and other people we disconnect from to protect ourselves. Okay?
Wow.
Okay? So this corrective experience is a relational repair. It's a relational repair.
Even if the person's not there.
Even if the person's not there, it can happen with somebody else. That's what therapy.
Yes.
Ideally, it's supposed to be a therapist saying, or ideally it's the self. Like, I'm here now. I'm an adult. I heard what happened. You shared it. I love you. I care about you. And the part receives that.
Yes.
Or I've had corrective experiences with my kids.
Yeah.
When they've seen me in a way that I've never been seen before. Like, we have children to grow ourselves also, right? So you get that corrective experience. So once you've shared it, once you've had some form of corrective experience, and you can feel those moments, they're like, you've had a couple of them here. I've felt it from you when you're going, like, your body relax. You go like, oh man. When it's something lands, that's a corrective experience.
Got it.
It hits differently.
Okay.
And it feels different,
yes.
right? So we have, when that part that's traumatized shares its experience, then it has a corrective experience. Then it's like, I don't need to carry this anymore. I got what I needed, and somebody else knows it. So that's where release is possible.
Wow. Is that step 3?
Step 3 in the transform, then release is possible. And I say to people, like, let the part let it go in any way it wants to. And sometimes people's bodies literally shake. Sometimes they're like, oh my, it's just floating up into the sky. It's just like the energy, it's an energy release.
Man, I mean, for me, this has resonated with me because I feel like I've had a few of those energy releases in big ways over the last 10, 11 years.
That's right.
The first time when I opened up about being sexually abused when I was a child by a man that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And held on to it for 25 years without anyone knowing.
That's
right. And I let it go. It was like this release.
Right.
A few years ago, probably 3.5 years ago, I was going through a challenging breakup.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I was doing therapy for, 6 months with it. Intensive, like 5-6 hours on a weekend, like, experiential, just like diving into all the parts of me that were blocking my ability to love self.
Yes.
And create boundaries.
That's right. That's right.
And I kind of had this heart pain for years, a few years. I was coming and going.
That's right. Yeah.
In this relationship, kind of a tension and a ball feeling of pain in my chest.
Yeah.
Sometimes palpitations, sometimes it wasn't there, but I remember feeling it in this one conversation with my therapist.
Yeah.
And something all of a sudden clicked in my body.
That's right.
It's like something, and it felt like a pop, and it like 100%. Released throughout my body.
100%.
It was the weirdest sensation.
That's right.
And I haven't felt that pain.
That's right.
Since that moment of release of corrective experience and sharing it and witnessing it. And it's so freeing to let go of trauma.
It's amazing.
Freeing.
Isn't it? Yeah. Like, because and I get chills, like you say that, I could feel it from you, and I'm feeling it for myself. I get chills throughout my body because there's nothing like, that's how you become you again.
Oh, man.
You don't change. You're not become somebody else. When you release,
you reclaim yourself.
You reclaim yourself in this amazing way. You do. It's true. And I love that you've had those moments, like, serendipitously because of the work you're doing. I'm saying there's a method here.
Yes.
If you do, and I'm always watching those 3. I'm making sure those 3 are happening, even if we're in a conversation.
Sure.
So it can happen. I want the world to know this can happen for you too. It does. You don't have to do 33 years of therapy like I did. Like, I'm a therapy lifer, right? It can happen. Like, this is the method. These are the steps. That transformation, you feel it. It's real, and you don't carry it anymore. You don't carry it anymore. Yeah. It's like you're like walking. It's like people who have taken antidepressants, when they kick in, they're like, I'm different. I'm not depressed anymore. Like, it's kind of like that. When you release that trauma, you're like, I'm not in the world the same way anymore, right? So that happens. So those are those 3 steps that need to happen for healing to occur, right? The last of my 4 T's is now take back your power. This is take back your power, become you. You're more you every time you release something. And this is something I love to talk about, which was totally new for me, Louis, around the death of my dad and the healing that I did with him. I told you earlier about my mom and this healing moment I had with her when she acknowledged what happened and she didn't protect me. Towards the end of my dad's life, he said something to me, and I'm not going to say what it is because it's like the moment in the book where it's like, oh my God, it was an incredible moment. What a gift for me to have this exchange with him. It was the first time I felt love from him.
Wow.
and I felt love for him.
Holy cow.
It was incredible. First time. And this was 2 years ago. Okay?
Not everyone gets this moment, though.
No, I was such a gift. You know? I was like, I think that's why I'm here. And I think that's why I've went through this, is because many people don't get that. You can still release without having the relational correction with the person.
Yes.
You can. You don't have to do it with the person. I happen to be lucky enough to do it with him, to have that. And I felt love for him. Even after all that he had done to me, I felt love. And it was amazing. Talk about freeing. To feel love for someone who was brutal to you. It's like, it was the most freeing thing I ever felt. It's like, that didn't even affect me, because I can love someone who harmed me is so powerful. It was like a drug to me, because I was so beyond it that even what you did doesn't affect me anymore, because I can love you despite of that.